Hey guys, it's Tom Cheriams with the FujiNet project, and I wanted to make a video showing the release of PLATOTERM for Calico atoms with FujiNet. This particular version of PLATOTERM builds on all of the other versions of PLATOTERM that I have written over the last 5-6 years, except this one uses the FujiNet directly, like the Atari version. And the difference here is it's a lot easier to take and connect to IRATA..online through the FujiNet, and hopefully this will serve as a model for other communications programs that want to take and connect to online services through FujiNet of the classical variety, non-web variety, that sort of thing. To get to it, all we really need to do is go to adam-apps.irata.online and go into the comms folder. You'll see that in addition to the 3 versions of Netcat that we have here, we have a version of PLATOTERM that's configured for IRATA.online and a version that is configured for cyber1.org. You can get accounts at either of these places by going to the websites pointed to either of these places, either IRATA.online or cyber1.org. Once you do so, you'll be able to log into these systems. One thing I will add is that IRATA.online does have guest access, so you can log on without a user account, but with more limited features. So with that, we'll go ahead and go to IRATA.online, and we'll press Quick Boot. This will boot PLATOTERM and immediately connect to the IRATA.online service. It will give us a splash screen and immediately connect to the host. After some initial negotiation, you'll see the logon screen. We'll go ahead and log on using my username. Give it my password. And after that, we're in. IRATA.online uses a menu-based system to get through most of the basic functions of the system. So you can, for example, go to C, check out some of the games. And we've got a handful of really great games that are already configured here, ready to go. Many of them are multiplayer. A good example of this is Avatar, which is a multiplayer MMORPG. In fact, one of the first of its kind. You'll see after it draws the dragon here. The copyright date you may have seen goes all the way back to 1978. And what it's actually doing right here is it's loading custom character sets into the terminal program to help display things faster. I already have a character set up here, but you have the ability to take and change character options, do all sorts of maintenance before you actually go into the game. And as I said before, this is a complete multiplayer game here. And this is actually done using drawing a maze right here. Boom, boom. We can walk around, do certain things, go up into town, do things like buy weaponry, etc., etc. It's a complete game available. Now, it is worth noting that it helps very much to use the link in the description to the help documentation, which looks like this. We have a little description up top, and we have a list of keys that map from the atom over to their requisite Plato keys. For example, for help, we go ahead and use the clear key. And you can see all the commands that will present themselves here. And so on. Now, for the next thing here, I want to actually show some of the differences here between the Atom and more capable terminals here, and I'm going to use the teleconferencing feature to actually do this. So for this, I'm actually going to take and press the home key to get out of here, and I'm going to press data to continue, Control D. And I am going to start a teleconference here. Use a special command called term. Term is a special way to take and jump in and provide functionality to anything that's running on the system here. In this case, I'm going to, actually, sorry, I need to use the go command and use soconfer here. After which point, no, I do not. I'm going to take and invite Bob to my conference here so that when Bob logs on, he'll be able to join in. Name of group, Bob's in the Atari group, so we'll go ahead and add him in. So back to return, that name is in the list. And then we'll go ahead and press data, Control D, to begin the teleconference. No, I do not wish to store this. And it's telling me here that I need to use term confer to during the conference. At this point, it's literally waiting for my call in here. So I'm now going to go to IRATA.online here, and there's a little orange button that says log in. Boop. We see ourselves immediately log in here, and you'll see that this particular terminal provides a lot more color. So we'll log in. Okay. Interestingly enough, that was weird. I think we're okay. Personal notes. I'm going to see if I can log into the conference here. Confer. And being page, joining conference. And there we go. And within a few moments, we should be fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and press Shift Stop. And at this point, our two screens will be synchronized. So you'll see the differences between the two terminals. So there we go. So this is another aspect of Plato that was pioneered on this system. Not only do we have the ability, we have teleconferencing and so many other things that first saw the light of day on this particular system. So, like say, for example, we can go back into Avatar and you can see the differences here. And this was one of the interesting challenges, was trying to take and put a Plato display which renders at 512 by 512 and squeezing it into a 256 by 192 display and try to keep as much fidelity as we possibly could. And again, like before, it's sending over the character set data. And now here we are with Avatar. Boom. We can see ourselves basically going. We can use the arrow keys, I said before, to take and move around, to navigate. All of these are mapped to well-defined keys. And this is a multiplayer dungeon. And as you can see here, it's synchronizing and keeping up pretty well here. I'll do another demonstration here. We'll go ahead and stop this here. We'll continue, of course. And we'll go into air fight. Air fight is an interesting example of a first-person flight simulator. And in fact, it's the first of its type. I can go straight to it by doing 0 air fight. Again, yes, even though there is a transmission disparity with a much faster computer on the right versus a much slower computer on the left, it does a pretty darn good job of trying to keep everything synchronized. Go ahead, I'll say I'm in Circle Squadron. I will grab the YF-16 as my plane. It gives me some stats here as to how much weaponry and how much fuel I can carry. Good things to know, especially because it will now ask you how much fuel you want. I'm going to say 8,000 pounds. How many missiles? I'll take and say 10. And we're now loaded almost to the brim here. And we can see that we are now here on the ground. I will then take and turn off most of the display here to make things a bit faster. Turn on my flaps because I need to take and pull my flaps down to help let me take off. Set my thrust all the way up to 9. Go ahead and might as well and start to pull ourselves off the ground here. And this really is something. It is a first-person flight simulator being rendered on what is essentially a supercomputer from 1978 onto a graphic display terminal. And you'll see that, yeah, even though the Atom is slightly slower here, it's still keeping up okay. We're approaching tower. Oop, I think I might need to take and pull myself up a little bit. And air fight, like all of the other games too, is multiplayer, meaning that you engage in dogfights with the other players. We'll go ahead as soon as this thing finishes buffering up here. I will take and kill it here. Oops, still on the ground. Wow, okay, this is turning out to be a great demonstration. This is what happens when I go off script. Yay, crash landing. Woohoo! So we will take and go back in for data. And that gives you kind of an idea. There's all sorts of different games, simulations, etc., that are all waiting on here. Some of them multiplayer, some of them against 2 players, chess, for example, and some of them single player. And all sorts of stuff, all sorts of content is here. And not only is content that already exists is here, but there's also a full development environment built onto the system itself, so that you can so that users can take and create new content on this system as well. There's also a great forum system in here in the form of notes. We can go into public notes, for example. And we can see the different subject lines, the note numbers, dates for each note, etc. We can enter a note to look at it. And we can take and reply, do all sorts of things as well. So a complete forum system built in here as well. To exit, all we really have to do to log off, anytime that we hit Shift Stop, we're given the opportunity to hit Data to continue working, or we can press Shift Stop to sign off. At which point, the guy on the left here is done, and the guy on the right, who was invited to the conference, goes back to his typical mode here. And at least for now, I think that's okay. We're done with him. We can take and pull him out of the way, and we can go to the full screen here. I can press reset on the FujiNet here. And once we're back into the FujiNet config, we can go back to adam-apps. And we can go to comms to go to Cyber1. Cyber1 is built on much the same software, but is designed a bit differently. Whereas IRATA.ONLINE was meant for new computer users, retro computing users, etc., Cyber1.org was primarily meant for Plato, ex-Plato users, Plato expatriates and the like, who wanted a classic Plato system to be able to use for their own enjoyment. So it works a little bit differently. I'll log in with my user account here. I'm in the inetd group. I need to press Shift Stop. Enter in my password. And within a few moments, we find ourselves over here in, whereas we built a menu system over at IRATA.online, cyber1.org puts you in the author mode and gives you help so that you can see what to do at this particular point. Say, for example, let's say we want to take and look at the public notes. We enter the name of the public notes file. We're taken straight to it. Of course, we can hit Shift Stop to stop. And we can do things like go to Big Jump, which is a huge menu system with all sorts of different lessons and things that you can run straight from a menu system here. For example, I can take and hit J to jump, or let's see, yep, jump out to a lesson. And I want to go to lesson number 18, which is Boggle. So there we go. All sorts of stuff over here. Cyber1.org has a lot more stuff than what IRATA.online has. What IRATA.online has is an easier interface. Take your pick. But they're both available and you can connect to both of them. And with that, we'll go ahead and end the video here. I will take and probably expand on this in the coming weeks, but just wanted to take and show you guys what was possible here and show that PLATOTERM, after many, many long years, having to take and circle back around, not just creating PLATOTERM, but having to create a whole connectivity solution so that PLATOTERM could actually work in a meaningful way on machines like the Atom. So, with all of that said, until next time, guys. Have fun.